All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Max. I'm working for Spotify, and today I'll present our paper that is titled Accelerating Creator Audience Building Through Centralized Exploration. To set a bit of a context for this work, I would want to refer to Spotify's mission, which I need to read, by the way, because I don't remember that by heart. Unlock the potential of human creativity by giving 1 million creative artists the opportunity to live of their art and the billions of fans the opportunity to enjoy and be inspired by it. So in this paper, we are focusing on the first part of the mission, giving the creators an opportunity to live of their art. And to be able to do that, the artistic people, they need, by the very least, they need two things. They need to grow their audience, and they need efficient and effective tools to monetize this audience. So in our work, we are focusing on the business problem of growing an audience for the creators. So here are some numbers that hopefully can help us motivate why we are looking at this problem. So in Spotify, we conducted a survey with 300 plus participating artists from the Canada, US, and Australian markets. And 73% of surveyed artists found that growing audience is an actual challenge. And even more so, when asked what are the top priorities for the upcoming time, growing my audience was picked 3 times more often than the runner-up option of monetizing my show. So we want to address the problem of accelerating the audience growth through the recommendation systems. And when doing so, we are faced with 2 well-known, well-studied problems that are cold start and the popularity bias. One natural framework to address those problems in a principled manner would be balancing exploration and exploitation. However, the effective and efficient balancing of exploration and exploitation is actually a challenging problem in itself. It is well studied and well researched, and we do have methods to do that in the common settings, such as multi-arm bandits and the contextual bandits. But when we apply those methods, we usually do several assumptions. The first assumption that the exploration and exploitation, they are combined within the single policy. The policy is executed in the same environment, and it has a single optimization goal, which is namely optimizing the regret of the environment in which it is executed. However, the reality of Spotify is slightly different. So even so, our recommendation system ecosystem aims to deliver coherent and consistent user experience. We do have a lot of recommendation systems that are operating in a distributed fashion that power different parts of our application. So just to give you an example, we have a dedicated recommendation system to power the personalized delivery of the content on the home banner. We have a recommendation system that is tasked with assembling the shelves on the homepage. And we have different recommendation systems that are powering the assembly of Discovery Weekly and the Daily Mix playlist. And that is just to name a few. So all the systems, they try to address different business and product needs, and thus they have a different optimization goals. They are executed in the different environments. Well, in our case, the environment is the part of the application or the surface of application. And even so they do local exploration, it's not really coordinated. So running out-of-the-box methods in this environment is quite challenging. In order to address the challenges we've just mentioned, we propose a new framework in which we propose to centralize the pure exploration with the single optimization goal. In our business use case, that would be understanding of the potential audience of the creator. And then we propose to couple this centralized exploration with the downstream exploitation system through the information transfer to achieve the coordinated effort in the growing of the audience. So that was a bit abstract. To give you a bit more detail, we prepared some visualizations. So in general, the framework we propose can be subdivided into 3 groups of components. The first group of component we can call centralized exploration. And here we have the exploration pool component. That is the component or the service that powers the creation and maintains the state of the current exploration pool. Then we have the centralized exploration component. That is where the actual exploration policy is implemented. And then we also have the impression budget component that allocates and tracks the impression budget we spend for our pure exploration. The next group of components can be called information transfer components. And the main task of this stack is actually to take the findings that we discovered during the pure exploration and transform that into signals that can be consumed by the downstream exploitation systems. And for example, we can just provide the raw exploration signals. Those are the signals on which our exploration policy operates. So in our use case, that would be impression to stream. But we can go further and, for example, compute the embeddings for the explored content in some collaborative filtering space. And those embeddings, they then can also be later used by the downstream recommendation systems. Even more so, using these embeddings, we can actually build a service to provide the personalized explore-exploit candidates for the downstream recommendation systems. Because in Spotify, the majority of the recommendation systems, they are 2 stages. You have the candidate generation stage, and you have an actual ranking and scoring stage. So we can also pull out this candidate generation component such that it's not needed to be redone at every recommendation system. Yes, the third group of components is the distributed exploit, which does contain the actual recommendation system that will play as the exploitation recommendation systems. To evaluate the system end-to-end, we ran an A/B test where we even had an opportunity to try 3 different variations of exploration policy. And here on this slide, we report 2 metrics. So we report the number of unique streamers as recorded on the exploitation surface, so during the exploitation. And we also report the number of impressions spent during the exploration on the exploration surface. 2 main or key takeaways from this slide is that depending on which variation of the exploration policy we choose, we can count on from 7.5 to 10x improvement in the audience growth as approximated by the unique streamers. And the second takeaway, which I personally find even a bit more interesting, is that because the framework we propose is quite general and we don't have a lot of restrictions on how exploration policy should be implemented, during this A/B test we had enough headroom to actually tweak and tune the exploration policy. And as you can see from the results, some exploration policy delivered the superior results comparing to the naive, but use twice less impression budget. During the test, we also monitored the guardrail metrics. So those are the metrics that are computed across the entire Spotify application, and they make sure that your release candidates do not break the overall satisfaction of the user with the application. So usually when you run A/B test, you look for the neutrality in those metrics. And again, 2 main takeaways from this slide would be that the Smart and Smart V2 policies, they delivered up to 10x growth in the audience, as demonstrated on the last slide, and they did not move the guardrail metrics in a statistically significant way. That makes them the release candidates. Second takeaway, which might be slightly obvious, but I still think it actually worth mentioning, is that when you do explore-exploit, obviously you bring an additional consumption to the content, right? But if you do it really naively, if you push it too far, you can see statistically significant detrimental effects on the user satisfaction with the application. That's why efficient personalization is actually key during the explore-exploit. So to summarize, we presented a framework on how to execute explore-exploit in the distributed recommendation system ecosystem. And we've shown that for our particular business problem, we already got statistically significant business results. But obviously, there are still some open questions. The first open question is concerned with the optimization goal and the measurement of the pure exploration. Because in standard setting, when exploration and exploitation executed at the same time in the same environment, we usually measure that on the exploitation side. We usually measure the regret. But coming up with the metrics that can, in an informative way, measure the performance of the standalone exploration that does not influence or does not, does not do exploitation, that is an open challenge. The second open challenge that we wanted to mention is the scalability problem. I believe in all modern content platform, we do have more content that we could ever spend budget to explore. So doing exploration efficiently is actually the key. And the last point I want to mention is concerned with the content moderation. As was mentioned several times during the slides, when you do explore-exploit, you bring additional consumption to the content. So you need to make sure that this content is non-sensitive and you don't really scare users from the application by showing the sensitive content in front of them. Last but not the least, obviously, it's a teamwork, and there is a great team behind all these results. So I want to give you a second to stare at all these beautiful faces. And with that, it's questions time.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Any comments? So you mentioned protecting the users from sensitive content, right? Mm-hmm. So do you have ideas of how to do that? I mean, what kind of approach, right, you might be using?
So, is it working? Yeah. Okay, I must say that we are working on that. We don't have results for now that we would want to share, but I'll give you a hint. LLMs are really useful in this direction.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Yeah, please.
Hi, my name is Lexi from YouTube. You'd mentioned that personalization is really important in your exploration so that you're not hurting the user's overall experience. Can you comment a little bit on how you think about personalized matching for the newer items where you have less information?
Yes, that's the great question, thanks. I can go in details a lot about our policy variations. So we did test 3 policies. One is naive, and 2 of them actually do personalization. But there are like too many details, and I think if I will go in detail right now, I'll just use all the time that is left for questions. But we do have a poster right outside, so please feel free to come, and we are like more than happy to share all those details.
Any other question? Okay, let's thank the speaker again then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.